goes.
All right, well, I'm hitting it right now.
Now
I
you
hit
see.
it like they should. I'm good. I hit the go live like they should all hit the go like button. I mean, the like button. So there. Hi, guys. How you doing, Samuel? How was your day?
I recorded a computer voice actress,
Ooh,
which was unusual.
fancy.
That was good. And I've inserted those very, very brief dialogue lines, as you can imagine, in. Done some audio effect. It's like, oh my god, there's a computer voice! Shocking. So that was quite rewarding. And if I'm right, I'll do the audio pass after this. As in, put the new music in. If it's good to go, render out a version, watch tomorrow, and the film may be done. Well, it's done enough to show people. So, yeah. On that precipice.
Nice. That's good. Glad you had a good day.
And I got a screen read tomorrow, which is very exciting. That's been a little bit hard booking one, but so
nice.
It's kind of a. Although I did get two annoying emails this morning when I woke up, delaying stuff that's also important. So it's kind of a started a bit weird, did some stuff, had a good thing, went weird, had dinner, came here,
and now it's gonna go even weirder.
Yes.
It's the same thing like my day. My day's been kind of blah. But anyway.
So that's why you guys are here, or you're here for these guys, because we all improve our moods. I mean, I know that I've heard recently from like 2 or 3 people that we've helped during the pandemic, which is always like oh, thanks guys, that's so nice of you. So, who knows how many people we improve.
Anton Smith left a comment a little while ago. Says, "Oh boy, I wait my favorite part of the day." It's like, yeah, that cheers us up here and that. So thank you.
Very kind. It's so nice to be roughly predictable with these. Like, guys, we're back again. Haha.
Yeah, and Squadra Course, yes, he got his haircut like 2 days ago. Pay attention.
Yeah, like
Just kidding.
Friday, yeah.
Friday? Oh.
We had filming on Sunday. Of course, we didn't do a live, so.
Yeah.
Or we did do a live. I don't remember. Time passes. But Stuart, I don't know if you noticed, but this picture of the 3 of them is a AI face recreation picture.
I did not know that.
So, do any of them look a bit weird? Now I've said that, they've been reconstructed.
Let me see.
To give bonus crispness and fanciness.
Do any of them look a little weird? I mean, Spock looks a little weird. I don't know.
I think Bones looks pretty perfect, I think. But I think the way Kirk's cheekbones are a little bit odd. Like, it's just reconstructed a little bit of his face, and Spock, because he's a side on, they definitely messed up part of his cheek and jawline. If I did them side by side, like, oh, okay. But
it's a great picture.
But I like improving pictures thumbnails, because if they're full screen and you need the extra detail, it's kind of like, well, you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, no, that's great. I would like to know the process.
Well, I just realised that in this one, Spock doesn't have regulation sideburns. The boys do, he doesn't.
Close, but I mean, yeah, I see.
Like, they're pretty distinct when you realise, as in everyone else.
Yeah, the bottom of the tricorder looks a little wobbly too.
Yeah, it mostly, it only really does faces, but the rest of it is just like, it's already low resolution that I'm already doing stuff with, so that's just the nature of everything else.
Cool.
So what's the chat saying? Let me jump on the chat.
I don't know. What is the chat saying? Oh, we got a super chat though. We'll get that out of the way first.
Yes.
That was early on. Marked Ashamed. Marked Ashamed puts in $20. So thank you so much. That's a great way to start off the super chats. Awesome.
Amazing.
When you look at shows today, such as Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, and The Expanse, there is no way those shows would have succeeded in the 20th century with their format. The MCU works as it is, episodic. Yes. Yeah, it's different, definitely a different form of storytelling. And because it was on a network at a certain time, a certain day. So if you missed a few because you were working or whatever, you'd be totally screwed in the story because you either had to have the money to have a VCR to record it or, so it was a different way to tell stories. But so, yeah, now it's just streaming services. You just hop on whenever you want and check it out. So,
although a big problem with mentioning Game of Thrones, because of the terrible ending, that entire show has been substantially ruined because of it. And so the legacy of the episodic nature of the early seasons got ruined by the serialized nature. I mean, how many like Lost? How many shows do you enjoy during and then get ruined for the end that actually hurt the entire show because it's one big plan and revealed to be, oh no, they were making us went along and they had a bad payoff. Even Battlestar Galactica has a weaker ending than it deserved.
Yeah.
And those are episodic episodes, just with that's a quite good balance. Like, it is week on week. Obviously, each progresses, but it's a very distinct episode by episode storyline. And then kind of gets more murky as it goes on. But whereas episodics, TNG season 5 isn't ruined by Descent. It's just and Descent. The good ones and the bad ones. But Red Angel season is pretty crap because the whole thing falls apart. And it's like, well, what am I trying to pull from the season that's good? The Pike scenes. It's like, yeah, well done. That's it. So it's a risk, isn't it? Whereas if you can pay off, Once Upon a Time season 1, the end payoff is phenomenal, and then you're like, damn, that improved every episode along the way. Boom.
Yeah. And I've heard some of the comments and stuff today. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this discussion after we've got going here, but yeah, we'll share it and we'll talk about likes and super chats and stuff.
Okie discussion. See you guys in a minute.
Okie dokie. Okay, 62 people here with 39 likes, guys. Hit that like button if you haven't. Like you saw, we had a great super chat from Mark Deshamed of $20, which is awesome. It's a great way to support the channel if you can, and it could make sure that we read your comment or question on air. So if you can, please consider doing that. We'd really appreciate that. Other than that, I mean, you can click the join button at the bit right down there beside the subscribe button. Of course, making sure that subscribe is clicked first of all, so that you can make sure you watch it, get notified of our content. And one of the best ways to notify you from YouTube is to click the bell notification icon to all, which doesn't always work, but it's the best way, unfortunately. Also joining the Facebook group, the Trekyards Facebook group, is another way, because we do post earlier in the day when we're doing a live. So if you miss it on YouTube or you don't get notified, you can check it out there. So lots of great ways. There's all of our social medias are down in the description of each video, so check that out. And by all means, click some of them, join the groups. There's some great discussions, great community. We have a great community here, as you guys know, because you guys all return to talk to us for the lives, and we love seeing that. So thank you so much, guys. But join our other social medias as well. And don't forget, you can help us on a monthly basis by, like I said, joining the channel or heading over to Patreon/Trekyards and helping us there as well. Now, there is PayPal as well if you don't feel like sending a super chat. Just send us a PayPal to trekyards@hotmail.com. Again, all the information for the PayPal is in the description of every video, so check that out. Just let us know that, or notify us in the chat, the regular chat, that you've sent a PayPal, and the moderators will be able to let us know that you have sent that, and we will read your comment or question via the email for that. So Jeff Jacobs says Kirk's right eye looks wonky a little bit. Yes, and good to see you, Jeff. Thank you so much for the package that came in the mail today. I'll make a good video for everybody for Friday, because I have an unboxing video, because Jeff was kind enough to send me something. Yes, Dan23, we did see the Michael Dorn video, something comic, or not comic, video game related. So very cool, very cool. But yes. Wow, that was weird. Jeff's comment, one of our moderators, message deleted by Google moderator team. What? Jeff, put in the moderator chat what you put there, because that's really weird. That shouldn't be a thing. But anyway, guys, yes, thank you for joining us. Hopefully this will be an interesting discussion. I don't know how much we'll be able to say on the matter. It might only be like an hour or so, possibly an hour and a half, but we'll see if you guys are stepping up and talking about what you guys think. That always gives us new ideas to talk about, and we love doing that. So, hey, look, he's back, everybody.
Yes.
That's you. Yeah, you're important. We love you.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Thanks.
Somebody loves you.
It's a funny old world, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's all just, we want good stories, And it really shouldn't matter if it is episodic or serialized, if it's a good story,
Mm-hmm.
But they each lend themselves to so different things.
But I mean, like two-part episodes are like little mini serialized stories, and some of them again are hit and miss as far as the overall, um, delivery goes. So, like you said, Descent Part 1 and 2 are just god awful.
Skip,
but
in a gentle way.
Yeah. Kyle Wong though puts in £5, so thank you.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones prequel is being filmed at the moment, but because of Game of Thrones ending, I don't care about watching the prequel. Yeah, see, that's the issue, right? And now I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've got seasons 1 through 7 on Blu-ray because we got a good deal on like 60% off the Blu-ray on Amazon Day or something a few years ago. Got that, and it's like, okay, cool. We got at least the first 7 seasons. We'll get the last couple when they come out, and we'll watch it all together. And it's like, no, I don't know if I want to watch it. But I've heard such good things about the beginning of it, like the first couple seasons. It's like good actors in there. There's got to be, moments to take away from it, right? So I don't know, have you been a Game of Thrones fan?
Or... Oh yeah, we watched it live since season 3, so most of the journey.
Nice.
Binge watched 1 and 2 together. Season 1 is absolutely fantastic. It's like next level. I mean, it was more next level at the time, but that's the point, it was next level at the time. Season 2 is good. 3 and 4 meander a bit, but then the payoffs you get in season 5 and 6 are rather good because they've taken 6 years to build up to, and 7 is not good for most reasons. It's weird, but it would be sad to not enjoy the show because of that. But now you'll have no expectations,
yeah, exactly,
which is kind of nice. It's like but it's double sort of about to say, we know that Data dies in Nemesis for the first time. That doesn't diminish our enjoyment of him in TNG. That said, we now know Picard is a pathetic old man. That does hurt some enjoyment of TNG because everything he does well in that is now clouded by his pathetic actions in the show where they don't understand who he is. So it is... I'd like to make one argument, and I ruined it by realising, oh no, the other guy in the show kind of hurts the old,
Yeah.
But it's,
Well, yeah, and that's a bit of shame. Same with 7 of 9 and Icheb. Like,
absolutely.
It's like...
Yep.
Especially 7 of 9 and her quest to be more human.
Nope.
As the case may be. Maybe she became too human.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly tricky. That's
not good.
That's another, serialized series is bring back characters. There's the risk there.
Yeah. Lewis Cox though throws in £2. So thank you so much. Hey guys, love what you guys do. Well, thank you. We appreciate you guys telling us that, and we love that you guys tune in to watch what we do, because otherwise we wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's all you guys.
So then
and Jeff Jacobs. Oh,
right.
Jeff Jacobs, $2. Quick 50. Nice onto.
Oh dear. Oh, you're back finally.
Oh dear, did I go
Oh,
away?
you got rages there.
Yeah.
Jeff
75
Jacobs.
likes, guys. Let's do it. Oh, okay. Quick 50. Nice. Under 100. Hashtag MHFA. Yes, guys, hit the like button. Let's get to 75 at least. We can do that with 90 people here.
So then I want to ask you then, I want to break down the different shows because they're all variable. Knowing TOS in its entirety, what's the balance you think of how much it could have been improved by having a more serialized somewhat in any respect? Or is it perfect as a no continuing canon, single stories, out of order, doesn't matter, no development? Like, where is that balance looking back? What do you think?
For TOS? It's a very good question because I kind of like that you don't have to watch them in order. Except for Where No Man's Gone Before should definitely have been first. It is like the second pilot. It shouldn't have been before Man Trap as far as release date or air date went. Just because of the uniforms and stuff are the giveaway there and the ship. Other than that, I mean, having character arcs, I mean, there aren't any really in I mean, you only really get fruition of any kind of arc for characters in like Star Trek well, the motion picture, and Star Trek 2. With Kirk, with Spock having gone away, and the reuniting of them all, and then in Star Trek 2 for Kirk feeling his age. Other than that, I mean, TOS, I don't know where the line is though, because I think Voyager did a pretty piss poor job of it too, of carrying over character development. Like Neelix was dead and there was no afterlife, and then he's just devastated by that at the end of the episode. Next episode he's fine again. I don't know. TNG probably did it best, honestly. And you can still watch the stuff out of order and still kind of get some character growth, but I don't know where to draw that line. Like, that's a very good question, and I don't know how to answer it.
Yeah, because we associate TOS with the improvements that the movies gave it. Chekhov's a character absolutely. Because of the movies. I mean, obviously, and because of the Russian thing, especially Uhura. We like her because of her bonus movie stuff and because we grew up with them. You can easily say they're just vessels of dialogue with a few character traits. And it wouldn't take much at all, when the episodes are actually longer than the average episode now, to have when you see a character, actually have a few moments of character dialogue for each of them. When you cut down to engineering, rather than just have Scotty be like, down to 40%, Captain. Then he can turn to an officer and say, this reminds me of when on the Potemkin, like that's a character growth moment. It's a small one, but they could have had those very easily, and obviously they had them occasionally. But it's the sort of show where they're long enough and the stories are so simple enough that they could have thrown in more character moments which would have been not serialized, would have made the characters more serialized because we would have grown more with them. I think if you're looking at arc, you've got the Cage and Menagerie arc in the roughest sense of the term. That Spock in 2 versions of himself, he does pay off himself if you want. It's all reused footage, obviously. I don't know how you would even do any kind of arc in TOS. I guess Gary 7 would be an arc. Logically, the dialogue. I think the Sin Age of Forever would make sense to be a season arc. We can now do time travel. How does that affect what we can do? That because they used it more than once, therefore it's a continuity thing. Even if or Go Around the Sun, I mean, one of those things. That sort of idea was used more than once, and that would make sense. Or the Klingon Organian. There's like 2 or 3 things you could easily have done one follow up on.
Well, there is reference to that. I mean, they do reference the slingshot effect in one of the episodes where they Assignment Earth, when they go back in time after having accidentally done it. And so yeah, I mean, it's kind of there a little bit in the odd spot, but
because I mean, if they'd made that, season 2, episode 2, they slingshot the first time. Episode 11, they slingshot again, and by the end of the season, they got a slingshot 3rd time, but now it's more dangerous, and then they have some repercussion of doing it. And you're like, oh, we can't do that again. Obviously, the movies hadn't existed yet. Create some sort of season arc of this is the slingshot season of where we've learned time travel, or the Klingon arc where now we're at Cold War, whatever. But it's so obviously it's so formed towards they go do a new adventure that there isn't much carrying over. The Klingon War was just introduced one day. The Romulans was introduced one day. The Tholians was introduced one day. They're all one-off introduction things. Although certainly Spock and Sarek, if he'd come back, that'd have been you'd heard something there.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you?
Jeff makes a good point.
Yeah.
Actually, he says Stargate did the mix really well, and they did.
Ah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said that before. That there's really no bad Stargate. It's pretty much solid across the books for multiple reasons.
Yep. It's surprisingly maintained, and there is an arc every year. There's an arc over multiple years, even though they're inventing every year as they come, and in fact, they're actually inventing every half season as it comes. They rarely had a full season planned, but yet they feel as if season 5 is a payoff to season 2 because they just are clever writers that love their own canon. So it feels like a 5-year arc, but it wasn't. It was 10 half-season arcs, except the first season, obviously.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Well, McShave says there is no character development in most Trek. Is Janeway any different from the first episode of Voyager to the last? I don't think so. I mean, some characters show it a lot more, especially in Voyager, like Tom Paris, kind of. B'Elanna, yeah. The Doctor's the most character in that series, I think. But if you look at old Janeway from the last episode, I mean, the effects of everything that happened to her are showing clearly. So I kind of get what you're saying, but a lot of times, like, that's only 7 years of a person's life, and
Only
I
7.
guess. I know. Well, I'm trying to think. What was I like 7 years ago before Trekyards even?
Oh, you
So the
weren't.
same.
You weren't before Trekyards.
I didn't exist before Trekyards.
Not,
That's
not
right.
like...
You grew me in a petri dish. I forgot.
Well, no, Sylvia grew you. She wanted a captain. Grow a captain kit. Side effects goatee. Although, you look at Voyager, that's an interesting example because Tom Paris starts as a flyboy, ends as a responsible father who's learned both respect, justice, the folly of his lessons, and how to have friends, and not to be a marquis, and to trust and respect Starfleet and his fellow crew members. And as a child, so he had a good arc. Kim, not really, but that's the joke. Like, he did stay the same. Chakotay learned
It's not
to
even
be...
the same Kim we started with. To be fair,
Yeah. Chakotay learned to be a respectful Starfleet officer who is a better team player. But that's not, Tuvok learned to respect the Marquis more and open up, I think. That's a good thing. He learned to be more human and more team because clearly his previous assignments were more based on espionage and like from one thing to another. I guarantee that was one of his longest assignments was 7 years. So he actually learned to be more of a team player. A real team player.
And deal with people like Neelix and be more understanding. Yeah.
So that absolutely Neelix grew from being a bartering trade, somewhat cheeky trickster into a family man turned envoy turned responsible guy who often had the fate of the entire crew in his hands, which he would never have had originally as a Daxian, and ends up being a father and a father-in-law and supporting the entire colony. So he grew. Janeway goes from being a young officer that's all about science to being a hardened officer who can take on responsibility, actively choose to kill millions if she has to save billions, and there you go. B'Elanna went from being a very hot-headed Marquis to a relatively hot-headed family person who's very respectful and good at her job. Seven went from being a mass murderer to a nice lady, and so there you go. I mean, they all had growth.
And then back to not a mass murder, but at least back to a murderer.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Multi-murderer.
That never happened.
Whereas look at Riker. He went from being a young officer to an older officer. Actually, less growth for Riker than probably for Tom Paris. I see include the movie, which probably should, but there you go, Stuart.
That's good. That's good.
It's not a lot of development for 7 years.
You missed the Doctor. Well,
the
Doctor was the one that grew the most, though.
Yeah, he absolutely is everything. But that's obviously the obvious example. But Kim's really the only one that didn't get anything. That's also the joke. So.
Well, Kyle Wong throws in £5. Game of Thrones ending is like going on the best date ever, but when you and your date get back to your place, you find out she is your cousin. Oof. That's rough. Must have been a good date while it lasted, though. Let's see what we got here. Well, let's look at some of the other shows then. I mean, let's go. Actually, Enterprise had perfect character development, I think. Enterprise had that nice mix as well. Even though that was serialized for a lot of it, there was still the episodic nature of it. And I think that is the home run for Star Trek, to have both.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because, I mean, even when Discovery finally clued in and kind of did the same thing with some, standalone episodes, but also, like I said, bookended by that serialized story, it felt better. It felt like, okay, that's the episode. I know what the episode's about. It's still continuing this story, and okay, cool. And I think for Star Trek, because Star Trek doesn't play well to the big screen, I don't think, unless you've got... There's the odd exception, of course. Like, yes.
Small creative budget.
Exactly. But the big baddie, like destroying the universe every time, just doesn't really work for Star Trek. That's not what Star Trek's about.
Just be a guy on a ship, as was 2 of the movies. Just a guy.
Yeah.
And a whaler. It's just a whaler. That's
and
the
villain. Borg.
Yeah, it's just a girl with an army.
But honestly, Star Trek stands up on the number of episodes, the amount of time you get with the characters. That's why, again, more episodes, like 26 a season, are preferable to 10 or 6. It's just not what we want as far as getting to know the characters.
And you would think they'd commission a show of 22, 24 episodes, how it was for a good 20 years, 24 episodes a season. That was the standard, because it'd be 24 months of your year. Or 24 weeks of your year. Like, that's money in your bank. I don't know why they wouldn't commission a 24 episode load. I mean, it's double the work, but that's how... most of these people that work in these shows, worked on TV in the 2000s with 24 episodes of TV. It's weird to then say, they can't do 24. It's like, they've all done 24 for a decade. What do you mean? They've done less than 24 for less time than they did 24 episodes a season. If they're older, they might have done 26 before that. And every 9 months. What do you want about? Of course they need 24 if they wanted to. Not necessarily Discovery level, but more like Lower Decks or, Strange New Worlds even, if they are clever. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what this discussion is like leading into, is a Strange New Worlds thing, which we've kind of got confirmed by Ensign Mount and the latest information. It's going to have a more episodic feel, but maintaining characters' story arcs. Which, yes, that's how you do TV. That just makes sense. So I don't know. I mean, I think I want to see the formula for Strange New Worlds. I think it's going to feel a lot better if they do it properly. And I think that's, well, I have hope, obviously, that they're going to. But yeah, I really think that the home run for Star Trek is to have a little bit of both. And there's that Goldilocks zone, that sweet spot. And Enterprise probably kind of hit it a little bit. Somebody in the chat said that there's no character development for Enterprise. I kind of disagree. You see Archer going from like the let's go explore things to, oh my God, everybody's trying to kill us, to this is frustrating, to we need to come up with rules.
He's a horrible
to create the Federation.
If you break down how grizzled he is at the end, it's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
He's a horrible third year.
I mean, yeah, but it does work in his favor because he starts to see what they need to do and everybody, I think it's a good character except for Mayweather.
No, it's Mayweather, Travis and Hoshi. The three tertiaries don't get anything. Phlox gets a little bit, Paul gets a lot, Trip gets a good amount, and the other three don't get any pretty much. So it's kind of a weird focusing. Even the Admiral gets some. Degra gets more than Hoshi.
Degra gets some fantastic. Yeah, for sure.
But since you're briefly on Strange Worlds, I want to delve back to Enterprise. Just like with Lower Decks, each episode stands its own merit. So the less good episodes for Lower Decks for me, I will not choose to watch really again. The good episodes, I will choose to watch again. So Strange New Worlds, it doesn't matter if it's episodic or not. If it is, if episode's bad, it's bad to me. You know what I mean? And it just means that you can sort of skip and just not enjoy that one. It segregates them all into more just like, do you enjoy episode 1, 4, 5, 8, 9? And then once you don't, move on. Because they're not going to hit 13 episodes, 10 episodes out the run. Especially if they respect the Discovery canon over the original canon. That's going to be a big sticking point, obviously. So, and obviously, Spock sings, and if they go by these weird, like the 09, Kirk's womanizer, he's having threesomes with aliens despite there never being his character. It's like if they take these things to the extreme, it just doesn't matter how good the, it's episodic, yes, but it's a bad story.
I mean, Lisa Jericho says Hoshi got some character growth. She was a nervous wreck at the start. Yeah, but that was resolved within probably 7 episodes. It's like, oh, now I'm not as afraid to do things, and then it's forgotten about. Honestly,
yeah,
I think probably by season 3. So,
I mean, you're certainly right. There is mini growth, as there'd have to be, otherwise it'd be very sad.
And Reed gets back in section 31. Has 3 episodes.
Michael Dorn just released the project he's in.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it earlier.
Let me watch it now.
Go watch it. It's great. We were talking about that when you were gone. Dan23 brought it up.
This is the U.S. of Marcus. If you are hearing this...
Okay. That's a weird trailer. A weird teaser.
Yeah.
So it is. It's the Apple game. Unimpressive.
Star Trek Legends.
Which I can't play. Which I would, but I can't. Huh.
Yeah, well, there you go. So... But I mean, honestly, they could announce him back for one thing and still have him back in something else.
Oh, sure.
So
Sure. Yes, but on to Enterprise, and that's a funny old one because they started the first 2-parter with an implication of a massive arc, the Temporal Cold War, which could take every show, every era. Like, that was the biggest arc they've ever had, bigger than any DS9 arc, because that's just a 2-quadrant war. This is a temporal Cold War, and yet there's only like 4 episodes in the first season that even mention it, and 2 of them are the first 2, and 2 of them are the end 2. Basically, there's nothing really in the middle that are any interesting, so it ignores its own premise to focus on the episodic, and so the premise gets no development. So by the end, you're like, I don't care. Why should I care about Silik, the Suilbun, and Future Guy? There's no depth there. Whereas if they actually dedicated time, it would have been much better. But they did both and failed both, because also episodically they're not very good, because half the episodes are forgettable, who cares? So they kind of failed both formats by doing a little bit of each. You know?
That's interesting. That's a good way to look at it, actually. But then it seems like a mini series that's kind of stretched out over the course of a season and kind of plunked in instead of being tied together. Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't, if you start a new show of Star Trek with every single season for the last 20 years getting 7 seasons, they're going to assume they're going to get at least 5, if not 7, right? So they can play the long game. They're not thinking it counts after 4. Why would you? Doesn't matter how good you are, you've got the Star Trek brand behind you. So that might have been a very slow build, which is fine if you had a 7-season arc, but clearly didn't. Clearly, you know. I don't know if they even had a 2-season arc, so why would you even... Like, this is the biggest possible storyline you could tell. Why is it so quarter-baked? You're not even half-baked. It's annoying, because the first 2 are quite good. The first 2 are some of the best episodes of the first 2 of the first season.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Madman with a box says, "What about T'Pol? She got plenty of character development." Yeah, we mentioned that. Her character was actually fantastic and so well done, by the way, by Julian Baylock. I really didn't like T'Pol on my first watch through of Enterprise. Going back and watching it now, she's amazing. Like, she hits it out of the park. You can tell sometimes she's a little bit, but as a whole character, though, she did a fantastic job, I think.
Yeah, you appreciate that she's playing a really faithful Vulcan, and that's sometimes the problem.
Yes.
You know.
A lot of times it just felt like she just woke up and stumbled onto the set, unfortunately. But I think that might have been trying to be, like you said, too Vulcan-y, I guess. But no, her character definitely went through a lot and had a lot of growth. And so kudos for her character, at least. Matt Boardman's here. Hey, Matt, how's it going? Mick Shave says Enterprise characters got way more development than TOS characters. The Mayweather episode was better than any other character in any Trek got. Just a shame they forgot about him after that. Yeah, where he goes back and visits his family on the cargo ship. Again, Sulu didn't get a standalone episode. Neither did, Chekhov. So, yeah, I totally understand that. But Mayweather was a very cardboard character, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? The one they got was always good. You know, always good.
It wasn't always good. Don't forget Beauty and the Beast with Hoshi, with that guy that calls her to be with him.
It's fine with that one.
Yeah, it's not though.
But I more think of her. I mean, that's her other one. I think of her one being the transporter one, where she's freaking out.
Yes, you're right about that. Yes.
So you're right. There's more than one, but like they always get one really good one where the actors are actually very good. It's the material, like the working out the dude's pineapple cake, whatever. Like he's good in that. He's really good in that. When he's fighting with a corporal guy, he's really good. You know, there is good stuff. Mm-hmm. Always there's good stuff. That show was just underwritten except season 3, and then it was like fully written, but it was in premise over characters except the main 3, which is the trifecta. But that's just Star Trek, isn't it? You had the science, you had the captain, you had the medical, or the engineer. You know, like.
But the problem is, season 3 is a lot like it could be any sci-fi franchise. The big baddies are coming to destroy Earth. When did that ever happen in the Star Trek timeline, primeline-wise? It never did. It could be any show. It could be any sci-fi show. Season 3 is a great writing in general. It's kind of like City on the Edge of Forever. It's fantastic. Storytelling goes and acting, but it doesn't need to be in the Trek universe.
But once you start pulling that plug, then half the episodes in season 1 and season 2 could easily be something else. They find a pod that's big on the inside, and then an alien race come and get it. That's Doctor Who. That's Star Wars. You know, that's not Star Trek, is it? Just get Tholians to make it Star Trek.
It's true.
So, but I would disagree to some extent because everything in season 3 is a character study as to we humans are trying to be these good moral people. We made Starfleet to be good, and we're being thrown all these curveballs, and we're trying to maintain that every step of the way. Like, that's a Starfleet crew doing Starfleet things, being faced with absolute shit. A Star Wars crew wouldn't act that way. A Farscape crew wouldn't. Battlestar Galactica crew wouldn't. That is a very Starfleet crew. That's how I would just say that's very much Star Trek. That team. And you don't want to get time travel and aliens and dimensions. Like, you don't get that much alien sci-fi in one show. Like, again, Star Wars, you don't have time travel and dimensions. None of those shows you have everything in one go. So that's probably the only one that has everything combined as well. Like, I know what you mean, but Trek is a unique canvas, and I think that season, the way they use the Trek canvas is very well used. You could remove the basic and put anything, obviously, but they paint it with such a Star Trek brush. What other shows are gonna make a big deal about him stealing a dude's warp coil? Like, who cares? And what show?
That's true.
Cares?
That's very true. Some of the morality tales for sure, and like I said, the forming of the it was eventually going to be the Federation. Like, maybe we should have a General Order 1. You know, the red alert sound, or the read alert sound, things like that. I mean, forming what we see later in Star Trek. Okay, I get that, and I understand that. Yeah, the characters, the moral dilemma. Archer actually stealing Degra, because it is Degra's warp coil thing.
No, was the alien dudes, the Romulan Deredex. They steal Degra. They don't steal his warp coil.
No. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean Degra. I meant Damar, because it's the actor Damar in that episode where he steals the warp coil. That's the other captain.
You're right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My brain just went to the wrong character name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Stuart,
so,
you're focused on the D.
rough...
It's fine. He's always focused on the D, guys. It's terrible.
That was a rough episode for his decision to have to do that, and you would never imagine any other Starfleet captain doing that, because you always put Star. Every time I watch that episode, I put Starfleet in the position of the other guys. Mm-hmm. Like, what if the guy that played Damar, or that actor, was Archer or Kirk, and they get their warp drives or their warp device stolen? Like, that's exactly, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. It could. I don't know. Season 3 just lost me though when I first watched. Unfortunately, going back and watching it now, I really appreciate it. And compared to what we have,
it's their best season.
Compared to what we have, I agree.
And as we said before, that is what Discovery should have been.
But that leads into season 4 of Enterprise. Mm-hmm. You say season 3 is their best season, and yes, as an Enterprise thing, yes. But I would argue that Enterprise season 4 is more better standalone episodes and more Star Trek-y episodes, because they had to fit like a few years of what they had planned sort of into one season, and it becomes more episodic almost, because it's going at such lightning speed that they're glazing over things in shorter amounts of time, and I think that worked well for season 4.
Well, I mean, season 4 is really the movie season, because you've got 3 episodes of one story. That's a movie. 40 minutes, is an hour and a half, or 2 hours. So that's more the mini-series one where they're doing... But like I've said to you before, some of those 2-3 parts don't hit for me. So instantly you're saying, oh, those 6 I don't like. So it is episodic, but also it is mini-serialized. The ones that I think work really well. The ones I think don't work so well. And that makes the average of the season a bit weaker. Because the other one is, like, for the most part, they're all good. Especially the last, like, 10 of season 3 are just a ride. Really phenomenal ride.
No, I definitely agree with that. Averaging it out, season 3 is a better season. But
the highs of, well...
personally...
I don't know, the highs, though?
I'd personally watch... If I had to watch one season of Enterprise and I was given offer all 4 of them, I'd pick probably season 4. Because it's just got more of the Trek primeness in it for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Just the... For me, the Mirror ones and the Brent Spiner 5 of those make it worth it. You know, for the most part, those 5 episodes are golden, really, really golden. Even the Nazi one's fun. Like, it's half baked, an idea, but it's fun. You know, it's a bit of a dodgy way to end the temporal Cold War, just with a little 2-parter, but whatever. But I'm actually all for the idea of doing. Although you should. If there's a super chat, join it, then I'll jump back in.
There is a super chat, yes. That right now. Matt Boardman throws in $5 and said, Doug said that his thought would have been for the first season of Enterprise being all about just getting out of the solar system. Yeah, and hearing these, or not even just, not, if let's say get out of the solar system, but yeah, Doug Drexler's original thought was to hear whisperings of like the Klingons and never run into them, but I don't know, like that's great realistically. It just doesn't make for really great storytelling. It'd be literally weeks of just roaming around on the ship doing nothing, running into no real anomalies, no real problems. I don't know. I don't like it.
Although remember, Doug was never part of the writing team.
Yes.
So he had zero control of anything on that show in terms of actual stories. And I know he says that, but it's like saying Michael Okuda wished in Star Trek 6 they'd do this, and you're like, okay. I'm sure Shatner and Nimoy and, you know, give Doug his own show, please do, but that was never going to happen. As in, he has no power in that show. Well, I think when we talked to him, it was more about the local colonies. I don't think it was the solar system, I think, because obviously at that point they'd gone out to Alpha Centauri, etc. I think it was more about the local few, which I'm actually fine with, you know, meeting freighters and meeting people and then meeting an odd alien that maybe comes in. Half a season, but that brings us into the idea of having, I think Discovery could benefit from this as well, and even the Strange New Worlds, having like 4 episodes, mini arc, where they are
absolutely
episodic-esque, but really it's like a 4 build and payoff. You know, in episode 1, Spock gets a communication from his father saying he needs to go to Vulcan, but he says he's too busy. By episode 2, the person comes to him. By episode 3, and it's all the B stories. But episode 4 ends up the A and the B both come together on Vulcan. It's like, oh, this is a great payoff. Yeah. Like, that's a good, but it still feels like episodic, but also just part of the grander story.
No, I think that's a fantastic way to do it, and it combines both the serialized and the episodic. So yes, please. That's exactly what I want out of this Strange New Worlds. I think that'd be fantastic. So
because it gives you chunks of everything, you know, and like I said, you get hits and misses, and let's then play in the sandbox of seeing what works. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these ideas aren't going to work. That's absolutely fine, you know. But let's say try things, they're not gonna see, and that's obviously why the episodic stuff is going to be so refreshing, because they'll know once they've done a comedic, a horror, look at Orville. They worked out what they liked in season 1. They did more of that in season 2. Not everyone's liking, but they focused down on something, and season 2 felt more refined easily. I'm sure season 3 will feel more refined, even despite pandemic, whatever, because they were able to experiment with all these different ideas. And you know, who knew Spock could be so funny in certain contexts if he's always there to be Mr. Science? You know what I mean? So it's
he likes science. Not a banned account, $5. Star Trek is at its best when virtue wins out. It can be dark and gritty, but we need hope that making the right choices makes a difference. Yes. Star Trek is all about hope. Sometimes making the right choices, though. What is it? Picard's quote: "It's possible to make all the right choices and still lose. That is not."
Well, obviously,
whatever that is.
What's the right choice? Is it right for you? You know, if you've held a secret for 10 years and you tell
human
the person,
values, the very name is racist. Yeah.
But I mean, if you've told someone a white lie 10 years ago and you've held on to it and tell them 10 years later and it hurts them in retrospect, but it makes you feel better about yourself and pulls the guilt off you, is that the right thing to tell them so you feel better? That's selfish. Or is it not? Is it good to tell them the truth that might hurt them? But you know, like what's good is relative. And as I said to you a couple of weeks ago, you know, we saw some recent clips of Picard in TNG. Yeah, we saw some clips of Picard and TNG both quoting, "Always listen to your officers," and then another one saying, "Now, Wesley, think for yourself because sometimes officers are wrong." And it's like, which moral is right? You can't, because
they're both right in different situations.
Exactly, depending if the hero is right or the hero is wrong. Because he was really like blindly followed the, you know, rat on your officers if you need to, and then, no, but if your captain's crazy, go mutiny behind his back. It's like, but they're different.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. SWTX Chaser,
Hey.
$5.
Such a good name.
Which would you prefer more, story arc or character arc? Character arcs. See, and especially with the characters, see Spock. They need to kind of stay within the limits, unfortunately.
Are they going
and
to,
that's
though?
the problem. Pike, they can do so much with as well, because you know how he ends up. And then you got number one, which you don't know what the hell happened to her. She's a blank canvas. They can do so much there. So one character is like limitless potential. The other two are kind of bookmarked a little bit by where they have to be at the end of the show.
Yep.
So you got to stay within those limits. And unfortunately, from the new track people, we know that they don't understand what those limits are, because they decided to put their show smack dab, like shoehorned in between other shows, when that limits you, unfortunately, unless you don't care.
And then you make mistakes upon mistakes upon mistakes, and everyone bitches because you make mistakes.
And then you try to fix those mistakes and make things worse.
Ay caramba. But that's a really interesting question, because story arc is great for the universe and great for cool stuff to happen. Character arc is great for the longevity of the show, because without loving the characters, you won't love the show. That said, obviously, that's not necessarily... Well, TNG managed both without even managing both sometimes, because you just like the people. They each do so well. Enterprise, you like Hoshi because you like Hoshi. Like, just given the glimmers, but not necessarily because you know much about her. That's lucky that we just like them because we like them. You know, also, we like the bridge crew. Hello?
I didn't like Hoshi.
Well, there you go. See, there you go. You know, it's like we like the bridge crew of Discovery, despite knowing nothing about them at all. It's like, oh, that Bryson dude's like, yeah, I'm sure they love it. Like, they seem nice.
Because they haven't wrecked the characters yet by having them do stupid things.
Yeah, they just
because we don't know anything about them. We just build them up to be the best they can be.
Because as I say in my fan film content, if you've made it onto a Starfleet ship, you're talented AF. Yeah, you are of the best. And even if there's, say, 500,000 officers in Starfleet on ships, out of how many trillions in the Federation? Sorry? Like, you say that as if that's a lot. I mean, how many Marines do we have? A lot. How many population? Like, it's still a thing to be a Navy SEAL in the military. You know, it's a ridiculous thing, so they must be excellent to be there. Now, yes, there are flukes, and obviously in Discovery, it was explicitly that Lorca chose them because he knew he could manipulate them, because he knew the real them, so they're not necessarily a good crew, they're just because he knew he could manipulate them. So that was the great caveat of they're actually probably a shitty crew, because he needs to manipulate them, and then they're still together for some reason. Like, Tilly shouldn't be there except because he knows he can do stuff with her mentally there, you know. There's a potential to be an evil queen, etc.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, if especially, you know, if Travis Mayweather is the first pilot on the first exploration ship in Starfleet, he's the best. The best. So of course he's going to be a really good guy. Of course he's going to be really good at what he does. Of course he's going to be respectful. Of course he's going to earn his place. The best, you know?
The best. Everybody's...
And obviously other shows, like even DS9, like Sisko wasn't the best for the job. He was the guy that did it. Like, you know what I mean? He was just the guy.
Yeah.
There was a fate reason he got it. But O'Brien wasn't there because she was the best, and Kira wasn't there because she was the best. That was a much more motley crew, you know? None of them were the best, actually.
Well, I just want to bring up something, too.
Yeah.
Like, we've just reviewed up to end of season 4 of TNG, and one thing we've noticed quite a few times and commented on was with the nature of their storytelling. This is true of TOS as well. Because it's episodic, it needs to be wrapped up by the episode. So you're looking at 35 minutes in, and you're like, okay, this is really good. And all of a sudden it's like, what? It's over now? Now we're flying away from the planet with no repercussions? What?
Yep. No, that's...
So the quick wrap-ups on episodic ruin it a little bit, but at the same time, that could be carried over to the next episode, the beginning, to like stretch it out.
Yeah.
And have that, you know, that nice flow through the whole season. So there are problems with episodic storytelling in that regard, and we've pointed that out multiple times, but it's a conceit, unfortunately.
And that's actually a really, really good point. We've often been frustrated by they wrap up within less than a minute and they warp out. But the problem is, though, normally those episodes are some of the better stories until the end, because they dedicate the 47 minutes into it, but they have no other time, nothing else to spare. And often if you want that fun, Data and Picard in the holodeck starting scene, that means nothing in the grand scheme. That's a character scene, but it takes 4 minutes away from your story, which you could do towards the overall story. But would you rather have Data be doing Shakespeare, or would you rather see an alien scientist on a planet talk about Thadron particles and how to fix a nebula for the last 4 minutes to successfully achieve the end? So you cannot have both.
That's why you have two-parters, though. That's why you have two-parters for those really good stories.
Sure.
Don't want to rush into a one-episode thing.
Sure.
You know?
But you know what I mean? It's a very tricky thing, and when they focus on story first, stories have to be told a certain amount of time. And if you want a really good story, I mean, if you say, if it was like a studio mandate, every last 4 minutes has to be the successful wrap up. You're losing a massive chunk of your episode that you just hard run on. But then, you know, and I'm referencing this in something soon, but the Roga Danar episode, it's like, and we're going to leave now. It's like, you know, this is a terrible ending of like, this would never happen this way.
That's exactly the one I was picturing in my mind as I was talking about that.
What?
It's like, yeah.
Hi there.
I'm back. Yeah, I said, yeah, you guys are probably all screwed, but we're out of here. That's exactly the one that I was picturing. Even the ship pulling away from the planet. Because that was the one we were kind of most shocked by. Because it's just like, hey, there's a revolution now. Bye. You guys you're big boys. You can handle this, right? Bye. Yeah.
You've got the Prime Minister at gunpoint. You can handle this, right? Literally.
Yeah, nothing bad can happen here.
Oh look, my phaser hand slipped. Oh. Yeah.
Let's see. We got not a band account with $2. Oh wait a minute. Yes, $2. Maybe number one could be LGBTQIA. Is possible. Is the last for alien? I
mean,
so that's the thing. We also don't want number one ruined by bad storytelling and character development. I mean, we talked about that with Picard, with 7 of 9 and E-Chip and stuff. It's like, well, goddamn. Now Voyager's kind of like
there's a
pathetic to watch almost.
There's a problem with for the sake of it, right? Because none of their sexuals have ever been really on screen, and you'd assume that everyone would be more bisexual as we grow older, because it, you know, in the context of if you're finding aliens every other week, you're allowed to find some attractive, and what if they don't have the same gender profiles as humans? I mean, things get complicated. So of course, but you shouldn't make that a forcible thing. Whereas if you want to have number one go to a planet like the scientist, kind of like Dax was very well done, like fancy the girl, alien girl, kiss her and then move on. It's like, yeah, I was attracted to this person. That was a hot blue alien. And then next week there's a hot red man, and then next week there's a hot blue tentacle creature who says on number one on in a very high pitched voice. It's very confusing. You know. Thank you, finally got there.
That ain't right.
Yeah. No, that is right. But, you know, don't make her a lesbian because you want to, because why not? You know? Like, don't give Spock a wife in Strange New Worlds because we didn't not say he had a first wife.
Yeah.
But that's the problem going back in time and characters. It's better to have a second Vulcan character on the Enterprise be Spock's mentor or friend who can have the shit happen to him than fuck up Spock. Have Spock be the prism through the story, through the social issues of another Vulcan. Have it be a Vulcan lady. Have it be a Vulcan old person. You know, you don't need to make it be about Spock to have really powerful storytelling. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, are we going to see Sarek at all in Strange New Worlds? I assume we will, because the actor that plays him is pretty good. But we know how Journey to Battle is, and the relationship there. So again, they need to tread very carefully with that, and I hope they do. Because, like I said, Spock is one of those characters that's got a very finite, like, missing gap almost. And I just watched For Love of Spock again, and he said one of the reasons he smiles and stuff in the cage is because Jeffrey Hunter didn't give him much to work with, because he was very stoic as well. So Leonard Nimoy felt he had to, like, have more going on screen. That's why he smiled when he the little vibrating flowers and things. And then when William Shatner came on board as Kirk, he was so flamboyant and funny and actiony, and the exact opposite of Jeffrey Hunter. That Spock or Leonard Nimoy could focus more on Spock. So are we going to explore this happier, dealing with his emotions Spock in Strange New Worlds, because we saw him sing already? Is it I need to be more Vulcan-like to be more respected thing?
Are those the Discovery Riders ideas, not the Stranger Worlds Riders ideas? I doubt those would make him sing. I think they have more common sense than that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just pointing out an example. Is that going to be for Strange New Worlds him kind of dealing with that a little bit more and not wanting to hide his emotions?
Because we noted that in TMP he's having to do Kolnar because he wants to repress. He's got too emotional. Star Trek Continues tries to give a reason for that. So if this was a show between TOS and TMP, he could get more emotional and break down and then have to go Kolnar. That could be super interesting because you have a very distinct emotional journey. But we know he's brilliant in TOS, so you can't have him repressed too far and then go back in. If anything, he should get more and more repressed. He should get more like Leonard Nimoy every season, because he becomes Leonard Nimoy. This isn't a negotiable thing, really.
Yeah.
It's like you're putting yourself in this corner. Just use the Spock character as he's written. Enjoy what that character brings as they used him for 30, 40 years. But yeah, you're right with his dad, Honestly, I would like to see Cybok. That would be a logical thing to include. You've done Michael Burnham, she's gone. You can't use Sarah. You can use Amanda. Amanda's fine.
Yeah, and there's no reason that Pike could know all about Cybok. Kirk never got the news, so
No, and actually,
absolutely agree.
That could be even better actually, because if there's an entire Cybok subplot, and then Pike deals with it so much, and Spock is so hurt by it that he's don't want to talk about him anymore. Actively makes him not talk about it, but in a more organic way than just, yes, my sister's classified now.
Well, see, that could definitely retcon Star Trek V, and actually fix some things that have kind of been broken. So, hell yes, I love that idea. Yeah. I love that idea.
And you've got the allegory for Kirk without being Kirk, boom, Cybok, and he's quite neutral to Cybok in the movie, so he doesn't. I mean, Star Trek, what is it? That's 5. It's a long time after TOS. That's a good 25 years. They have I haven't seen in 25 years distance, so you could easily see each other in TOS and not be a huge problem. It just could have to be a different sort of character. But that could be really fun. I would really embrace that. And it'd be a bit of a weird gimmick, he messed up Spock's sister, let's bring his actual brother back. It's what? But if you want the Vulcan allegory, I kind of sold myself on that. I really want to see Cybok now.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm going to be all disappointed.
Yeah.
And Destiny Splicer 2012, who hates uploads of only 100 title words? I know there's a limit for the chat and the super chats, but break it up, I guess, into different. If that's what you're referring to, anyway. I just wanted to address that because you commented a few times. So, no, I really like that, and it can fix things that have been slightly broken over the years, or at least made us go, huh? So yeah, you got a canvas there that you can make some corrections. So please do so. We've already found out, hopefully they're correcting the uniforms and the Enterprise for the Strange New Worlds, so that's already a good sign. But so far just words. We need proof.
And it would certainly be fun, just like Enterprise Season 4 tried to kind of be the in-between. It'd be lovely if they took a few things to lead into TOS, like we meet a younger Daystrom. He's not much younger, but maybe he does. Maybe they have a new ferrying Daystrom from one planet to another early. Or the M2 computer. There's things you could do that would be fun and that goes wrong in its own way. And he's like, oh, I'll fix it for next time. Kind of like Sung did in Enterprise. There's, if you've got these stories that are only going to happen in 4 years, 5 years time, and considering Trek has been 6 years, we know that can feel like a lifetime. It sounds like not a long time, but it can feel very slow. So there's no distance about 5-6 years.
Yeah. 96 likes though, guys. 4 more likes to 100. Hit that
Mm.
like button if you haven't. I want to hit 100 likes.
Mm-hmm.
Easily we should hit 100 likes by now. Hit the like button.
And with a surprising few amount of super chats, given the topic. I mean, honestly, we've seen another $70. Honestly, 7-0 guys. Put in some fives. I mean, put in some fives now though. Let's see if we can get a vote right now. Super chat, non-super chat. Would you rather have a primarily episodic or primarily serialized Star Trek show? So you can have a bit of each, but primarily, like 8 out of 10 one way, 2 out of 10 the other. Let us know, and if you can put some fives in to tell us what you think. That's good.
Yes, that would be excellent. What was I going to say? I had something just on the tip of my tongue there. What were we talking about just before that? That's it. Another thing you can do because of the era it's set in. Let's see Captain Decker before he becomes Commodore. So we can understand his character a little bit better that we see in the Doomsday Machine. Like you've got a lot of people that they were required reading in the academy, things mentioned in TOS that you could definitely throw in, and again flesh out the world a bit. So, and they don't need to be serialized arcs for those. They can be episodic, and that would work the best in my opinion. So, yeah. Jeff Jacobs, $2 got our Hundy. Oh God, it's been a while since I've said that. On to 150. Here we go. I said the 150 even though he didn't. So hashtag make Jeff pay. So we got one response from Dan. It says episodic.
Yeah, that's not episodic or serialized.
Yeah, this Jericho says I doubt they'll be using the actual Enterprise.
What?
I think he means like the TOS one.
Oh, sure. But
it'll look a lot. It's gonna look different than the Discovery one.
Yes, just needs 10% changes. That's it. We've been through it before. 10%, not a lot.
Yeah. So another episodic. 85 episodic, 15% series or serialized.
You can be that specific as well. So I do think it's nice to have that payoff moment for any setup. You see Kirk's brother in one episode and he comes back 3 more times. That's a payoff, which is great. But you don't need world-destroying, galaxy-destroying entity and then every week trying to find it. Like, that's not... Especially if each episode, again, this is just Season 2 Discovery, especially if each episode you jump to a new situation, literally jump to it, in a new part of the galaxy with no stakes, they're being reset each time. It's crazy.
Episodic, don't trust them to get it the mix right. Start episodic, becomes serialized. We got another mixed 26 episodes in a season, and both episodic and serialized. They can do it. Plenty of TV shows out there do. There's no way they're going to be 26 episodes in Strange New Worlds. I'm guessing at the most 13, but that's probably stretching it actually. So, Mark Lawrence, $5. I prefer an episodic show with an era appropriate look. That's the golden answer for sure. An SWTX Chaser, $10. Would you like Strange New Worlds to show when Spock, McCoy, and Kirk meet? If so, how would you like it to see it done? I wouldn't, because McCoy wasn't even on board in Where No Man Has Gone Before. He wasn't even the Doctor yet. So that's bleeding over to TOS territory already. So. Can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, there you go. No. That feels forced. That feels like very much we need to do it for fan. The point of this show is actually to embrace the Cage legacy of Pike and Spock with the retconned number 1 character who's anything. It doesn't matter. It's a character. That's the point. Not to rely on TOS. Now, it's fine to show Uhura, Chekhov, or Sulu. Those 3 would be phenomenal choices to bring in at a certain point. We have no idea when they joined the Enterprise except Chekhov, because they could have been earlier. We really don't know. And give them a really...
And Sulu was in a different department
Yeah.
in Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Yep.
Different uniform.
Mhm.
Yes.
And to
Yeah.
give them a really deep character study, obviously young, like them being younger. I'm not saying season 1, obviously. I'm saying like season 3 is a payoff. You know, this season we're bringing in a new Uhura. But like, give a really good, and just like with the other movies, have this then improve TOS, because now we're like, oh yeah, Uhura did some really important stuff on the Enterprise, at least in the context of her rank, not as like galactic saving, but she made impressions on the crew. Because I can imagine, actually, and I just had this thought, because of how bigger the budget's going to be to TOS and all these things, it's very likely we're going to get this larger crew feel, and so we might actually have the interpersonal relationship stuff, more of a soap opera drama style thing, but just like Star Trek Beyond, that great line of, you know, we've been coupling off and having fun, and it doesn't go always so well, and someone gets thrown out of the room. You know, there might be a bit more romantic subplots, because you know, explore that idea of heavy cruiser out on the edge, exploring 400 people or 200 depending which way they go. Like, you know, have a scene where an ensign goes into a lieutenant's room, cut to draped. You know, Picard did it. I mean, come on. You know, draped in a cloth, now in this weird sort of hybrid TOS future version of a crew quarters, and it's like, it's this interpersonal stuff we never really got to see. Like, what was it like to be an officer on the ship? Not to be a captain or a science officer or a medical officer, to be just an officer. You know? I would like to see a lower deck style thing on the Connie, like, because that way of existing is different to every other ship. Every other ship. That's a super unique one, you know?
Yeah, and it's also in that era where it's not like super advanced yet, so
Yep.
because it shouldn't be.
And boy, I really hope they're gonna. Well, yeah, boy, I really hope they're gonna do. You know, bowling alley, rather than just say it.
They need to.
And because I want them to actually hold the damn thing. Like, even when I did Temporal Anomaly, I told the actors, hold your hands out and grip a fake thing, because you have to hold it. I was keen. It's important. Have your hands out of shot. You don't just say it.
Another thing is important, though. Hey, we're doing things.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Not your fault. Not your fault. It's just it's so fucking irritating when I'm watching the fan.
And then to be fair though, it's funny because in 2012 iPads were nowhere near as big a thing, and obviously it feels like no longer, but we didn't have iPads. Like, people were not used to the touch typing; it was more about the computer typing. So you said work on a computer. There's only, and obviously there were some, but they weren't like everyone had them. Whereas now, obviously, we're used to. If you have an iPad, you're not doing this, are you? Doing this. You know, like Nim instantly was doing.
You should get some exclusive clips from TNG of Data and Geordi, because they do a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Just clip it, make a thing for your actors to watch. This is how you do this.
Yeah.
So.
No, and in fact, well, you saw the clip in the video with Nim, and it's you know, she did better. Well, I've got don't have them touch the air. That's another thing, because it defocuses them, because they're now just mindlessly moving rather than actually having to touch a physical item and not make noise. Because that's important. But obviously, if you're on set, you aren't going to do. So that deliberacy is part of the deliberacy of your performance. And ironically, if you're focusing on controlling a surface, you can't focus on lines as much. But if you're the character in the scene, what are you doing? You're focusing on what you're doing and saying without thinking. If you're thinking what you're saying, you ruin the scene in a sense. So actually, add something to touch real fake stuff. There you go. Lesson learned from fan filmmaker Samuel.
Gareth Rooney, €5.
There you go.
I was like the 2 to 3 episode arcs they had in Enterprise season 4. Yes, and Samuel pointed out that they're basically a few movies making up an entire season, which they could do that for Stranger Worlds, and I'd be fine, because that does feel more episodic. Like I said, I would much rather watch, I think, season 4 than season 3 for my Star Trek dose, but season 3 is really good for Enterprise.
Well, it's funny though, because season 3 is so dark that it's not as fun to watch, but when you're actually decide to go in it, it's way more satisfying than 4. Especially, obviously, you know that season 4 ends on a shitty note. You know? Like, that's another one of those things where it's not a good season if you think of like how it starts and how it ends. Although, briefly, I want to talk about, I'll get some more super chats. And I was thinking this as we went in. I think, actually, the massively serialized nature actually hurt Deep Space Nine. It was too serialized, because you think about seasons 5 to 7. I mean, there aren't episodes really. There's a couple, and they stand out because they're special, like the Heist holodeck one, or the Nog's leg one. But for the most part, they're just another episode, another episode, another episode. They are so non-episodic that they blend in.
They bleed into each other.
They aren't episodes of TV. They're one long story. Whereas, so you can't, like, what is episode 14 of season 5? You will not know because they aren't really episodes. So I think they're actually way too serialized to the point where the episodic ones stand out because they're the only ones. You know, the Roswell one, I'm sure that's season 6. The one where they find the dead lady officer from the past. You know, these ones sound as being exceptional because they're like, oh, we had a really good standalone idea. They're not just, okay, there's another one of the another chapter.
The sound of her voice is very memorable. Great Star Trek episode. And it's all because the Defiant was on its way to do something for the Dominion War and got sidetracked to save her. So it's a standalone piece. It does tie in, but exactly.
But that rarely happens. So I think actually that was way too serialized because you can't pinpoint episodes. Obviously, there's the culmination episodes, but even like Babylon 5, that managed it better, where they actually had more distinct things per episode. It was often we have to achieve a task this episode. So this is the episode where they do this, and I'm having trouble remembering a lot of those. Whereas Voyager, obviously, you can name. I wouldn't be surprised if we between us could name 200 of the episodes. You know, like what happened in 200 episodes out of the 220, whatever. I think it's more than 200. DS9, I think you'd be hard pressed to name a lot of them without sort of rambling on the story, which isn't summarizing the episodes, you know? Whereas Enterprise, it does have a far more structured season 3. You could break down, because most of the episodes, they had a distinct episodic feel in season 3, but with a massively serialized feel too. So I think, like you said, which is what you said early on, I think they nailed it. DS9 season 3 is DS9 is too much one way, Voyager's too much the other way. And I never thought that ever about Enterprise, but I think you are right. It probably nailed it. At 7 points.
Yeah, DS9, I think, because the first 2 seasons are kind of I think it had its sweet spot between seasons like 3 and 5 for that kind of thing, the episodic stuff. But then, yes, you're right. The last couple seasons focus so much on the Dominion War and keeping that story arc going that it is very hard to differentiate good stories or good episodes because it's all one thing. But the ones that are special are the ones that stand out. Like, well, I love the one where Sloane dies and they go into his brain. I think that's a fantastic episode.
Weirdly cheap, but makes sense.
Yeah, but it's the idea just really gets me. Like, that's going to be one of my favorite episodes when we finally review that. It's just such an intriguing idea. So
just as a brief thing though. So season 6, episode 17, wrongs darker than death or night. What happens in season 6, episode 17? Wrongs darker than death or night.
Don't know.
Okay, and let's see if we can work out Voyager season 6, episode 17, just by name. What happens in episode Spirit Folk of Voyager?
Oh, that's where the holodeck program goes a little bit wacky with what's the name of the town? Anyway, the Voyager town that the program goes wrong, and they think that the Voyager people are all witches. Fantastic episode.
There you go.
Yeah.
DS9, what happened was Kira uses the orb of time to travel into the past after Dukat claims that her mother was once her lover during the occupation.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
To be fair, those are obviously sub-stories, but that name was... But yeah.
Trying too hard.
Well,
yeah. was trying too hard.
Although those are obviously sub-stories, and even those are obviously, that's part of the serialized arc of Dukat. That's not really a standalone per se. It's like part 4 of the 7-part. Now, we're not saying that most episodes are that way. It's just when you get to a certain point. What do people think? I feel it was kind of controversial there. What do people think?
Well, yeah, let us know. What do you think about Deep Space Nine? Does it take the serialized stuff too far? I think that was probably, honestly, one of the things that they'll look back on when doing New Trek and trying to do with Discovery is having this really impressive story. And they look back at DS9 and it's like, hey, not everybody. See, that's the thing. Not everybody likes DS9. Because, again, you can't just jump into it head first and go, okay, I know where I am. You need to be on the same page as what's going on in the episode. So it's kind of hard to get into.
Well, it's also the least Star Trek of them, so it's the most general media. you know, it's not what Star Trek's about. It's the exact opposite of what Star Trek's about. And the characters are way more aggressive and mean and nasty. It's, you know, better stories, worse Star Trek. But that's because it's delving into a different territory where you can do other things, you know. Like, for Enterprise, for all its faults, is very Star Trek, you know.
It's good people in shitty situations, which is Star Trek, trying to maintain that ideal, I guess.
Yeah, but it's about one big war and about religion. Neither are topics that Star Trek is meant to deal with, per se. And on a space station.
Very good point. Very good point. Squadron Course, $2. Respect for canon is more important than format. This is also very true. I don't say it's more important than format. Format is important to keep people engaged, bring in new people, bring back the old people. Like, the format's got to be that sweet spot as well. So, but yes, respecting canon is super important.
Well, and the joke about canon is that once you start throwing away canon like Discovery did, as in like the tech whatever, it makes the Picard tech now seem irrelevant because it's not impressive to have holograms. Like, you completely ruined all that stuff. But also, if you make it inconsistent, how are we meant to feel if a ship turns up and has weapons? Because they could have Discovery level tech where they have 500 drones, or they could have TOS tech of 2 phases and 1 shuttle. I don't know. Is a D6, is a D7 500 meters long and can cloak or not? Am I meant to feel tension here when it shows up or not? I don't know. They've ruined. You know, if once the TOS loses its shuttle in Gallo 7, like, that's a risky thing. Whereas if all the shuttles should, if you know, retcon it, they should all go to warp, and there's 200 of them, the tension's gone because they should just pick them up. You know, why aren't they going to warp? You know, that's why canon's important, because it's an evolution universe rather than just whatever. Unless you take every episode in its own standalone nature, which is okay, but then you have no longevity because nothing connects. So why bother watching? You know, it's just Black Mirror. You know, it's like, well, yeah, but you don't build anything. You just keep showing.
Eric Martin, $5. Still doing spreadsheet here, but wanted to chip in. Well, thank you, Eric.
Oh, goodness.
Enjoy your
Good
spreadsheets. I feel for you, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in and helping out. Speaking of helping out, guys, hit that like button. We're at 113. I think we can hit 120. 7 more would be great. And also super chats, if you can, please do. It's been a little bit of a light week, but that's okay. I mean, things happen. But if you can, please do, and we will continue to be here to talk to you guys and hang out with you guys, because we love doing these kind of discussions.
This is just a great discussion. Yeah, we're having fun, and hopefully you're on this journey with us. And in fact, I was thinking briefly, as someone mentioned Voyager again, and there was an arc in the early season, the Kazon arc, as daft as that was, because you do have the Seska and the Marsh Color, and that's a very distinct from an officer on the ship to betraying everybody to Found to Kazon to getting killed. Like, that's an arc. Same, and that's obviously, you know, Chakotay's arc, etc. So they did try something actually in the early seasons to be it's just the Kazon never clicked, which is the problem. Same with the Ferengi, they obviously reversed course instantly. Well, close enough. They were kind of committed with Kazons, I guess. I don't know. So they did try, and actually having rewatched season 1 recently, the season 1 arc and part of season 2, ironically, for Voyager is lots of failed attempts to get home. Like, season 1 is about the promise of maybe getting home, but at a certain point they give up on that, as in it's deliberate, and now they just embrace the journey. Season 1 is lamenting we're lost, and Kazon, same as season 2, and then it moves into now we're just living our lives, and there is that distinct tonal shift of now we're just living, you know, which I noticed having rewatched it. So there is a thematic arc, if not necessarily a direct arc, but I mean that's pretty close, you know.
That's interesting. Wow, you see all the layers, like an onion.
Well, that's the advantage of watching things now as a filmmaker, having never really watched that back.
Yeah. You
know.
That's interesting. Damn. Yeah. So what season is it that Harry Kim says is it's about the journey?
Oh, that's like 5.
Do you remember?
That's like 5 or 6. It's weird, or even its Endgame. It's like weirdly late. It's a great quote though, but I think.
Okay.
I think it's actually Endgame.
Yeah.
As weird as that is, I think it's actually Endgame.
Probably
about
that's why it's so memorable, because everybody's seen it a few times.
About the risk of going back, yeah.
Area 51 says, "Damn, I clicked a button and half the live vanished. Did I hit the wrong one?" What do you mean half the live vanished? Like the chat or the... I don't know what you mean, Area 51. I don't know what you did. Sean O'Sullivan throws in €2 though, and says, "Kazon arc bad. 2 years TOS tech kept up with Voyager." 2 years, TOS type tech kept up with Voyager. No, they were just that deep in Kazon space. They weren't keeping up with them. I mean, at the end they were trying to, but yeah, I don't know.
And besides, I don't particularly like some of the stuff from the Kazon where they strand the ship, but as a concept, it's a very good concept. They take over the ship by constantly attacking it. You get to see, she's got... It's a great concept, poorly executed, and being stranded on the planet. That's good stuff. It's just not... It should have been a season 4 season, They got better as a show. It was a bit too big a concept to do early on, which is why, like, when they did the holodeck episode with Seska, that's, like, really, really good, everybody, because that's them refining the format into 2 more seasons. Now, that's, like, best Seska, but she's actually a holodeck program.
Was the Devore were they mentioned in a few episodes going through Devore space, or was that just one episode? Because I think it almost felt like they wanted to bring the Devore in to be like the next big thing that they had to deal with.
I think they were mentioned once before, but not as a big thing.
Just like we're Devore space or something, yeah.
Yeah. Devore Imperium, yeah.
Which was great. I mean, the Devore, I kind of like the Devore, so...
Yeah, they were great. Yeah.
Half of whole life. Thanos joke, yeah. Grandizer 12, do you both think Voyager should have had more contact with different aliens or less? Or was it about right?
That's an interesting question.
So do we think Voyager should have had more contact with different aliens or less, or was it about right? I think it was probably about right. I just wish they wouldn't have spent like 2 weeks on a planet. Like, you got to get home. I understand some situations kind of call for that. You have to do that to rescue your crew or whatever, but I wouldn't be stopping at everything on the way. I'm sorry. I know I'm Starfleet. You're supposed to be out there exploring. I want to get my crew home. Thanks. It's already going to be 77 years at top warp with a few things being shaved off here and there, but I'm not going to stop at every goddamn thing, unfortunately.
So two answers. One, I think, how could they have had more aliens? Like, they had aliens every week, But B, if they had not stopped ever, I mean, think about how we feel in the pandemic being stuck indoors. Imagine being stuck...
Oh, that's a great analogy. Why'd you have to bring that up? Because now I just sound like an idiot.
Yeah. It's like saying, right, we're going to stay at warp for the next 60 years. You can't go off the ship. You can't do anything. We're not going to see anything. We're at warp. Deal with it. But we'll get home in only 77 years. Whereas...
Get a holodeck. Come
but,
on now.
There's only... You know what I mean, though? It's not a foolproof plan. But people will go insane. And there's a reason everyone joins Starfleet. So the best way to keep them sane is to do stuff that Starfleet would do. And the fact is, if they take 1 day off, that's only 1 day less time to the Delta Quadrant. That's you know what I mean? Like, taking 1 day here and there, you're only 1 day further away. That ain't no great leap. You're not going to get there much faster. Whereas you might discover on that planet the key to transwarp, which they did several times. And several times they traveled like 5,000 whatever because they discovered something. So by limiting themselves to a single flat rate trip, except stopping for gas... Okay, but they risked it a few times, and they massively got benefits from that. So, yeah, they probably stopped a few too many times, but it's like if they already acknowledged, my kids are going to get home. I'm not going to get home, at least I'll be very old. You may as well give them a life, Doesn't matter if me at 92 gets home to see Mark. Mark, you're married with 9 kids. It's like, at that point, who cares? Like, you're trying to get home for your children. Or to find stuff that gets you home even quicker.
But that won't even be their home, your kids' home.
No, it won't.
Like, you're taking your kids to a place they've never seen before.
100%. But at least you've given them a life in between. And they can make their choice what they want to do with it. No, but that's the thing. It's a shitty situation either way. Of course it is. It's terrible.
Yeah. Madman with the box says, what do you think about introducing some aliens or referencing events from Star Trek Online?
Yeah.
In what? Are we talking Strange New Worlds specifically here? Or are we talking about Picard? Sure, go for
God,
it.
yeah.
Lower Decks, go for it. Yes, absolutely. I don't think it'll work necessarily with Strange New Worlds, but
I'd be super dubious because as soon as you include anything, it implies it's all canon, even in a subtle way. You'd have to like introduce them in it as this is how they're being portrayed. But there's so much in Stowe, but it's a video game, you know. There isn't a Wrath of Khan captain walking along a TOS captain, walking along a Discovery captain in a space dock, talking to Kazon characters that can transport to the Delta Quadrant and fight with the Breen. Like, that's not happening in the Star Trek universe, sorry. That's happening in the Star Trek Online universe. No one's flying a J next to a
you're
Connie.
a party pooper.
Oh.
Damn it.
I think I understood my Wrath of Khan uniform in both my characters. Oh my god, Maxwell Entertainment. Hi, Trey.
Maximum Entertainment.
Maxwell
Is that
Entertainment.
what? Oh.
He used to say my other name, Power 53 Fan Films, wrong. I always was like, just the way he said it was funny. The first couple of times, that's not how you say it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Janeway
it's
and
Power
Paris
554. I'm like, why would you say Power 554? But it's like Trekyards with 2 capitals. Like, why is Trekyards with 2 capitals? Whoever does that. Sorry, anyway.
Right. It's okay. My brain's broken for a second there. All right. Janeway and Paris had children. Yes, they did, Ozzy. They did. Just dumped them on a planet. Here. This is evolved humans. Leave them be to die. Oh. Hello, Trekyards. Thank you for the shout out. Much love to both of you, says Max World Entertainment. Thank you very much. Anyway, yes. So, Voyager season 1 was good for me. Season 2, minus the episode maneuvers and death wishing, is rough for me, says Michael DeFritas. Then the last few episodes of season 3 is great, and season 4 was was great of Voyager. I wasn't the biggest fan of Voyager season 1, honestly. It did get better for me. I just wish there was more carryover with characters. I mean, just traumatic things happen to that crew, and it's just like, oh, well, you know, it's fine now.
But that is although I think it would have added to the show, or it would have hurt it in one way, if they had said, because I always caveat that even if in my film stuff seems to happen, oh my god, really? Why is everything happening so close together? It's like, you know that in a year, we only see 26 episodes. That's 26 days, and maybe they take place over several days, maybe. Most of the year we're not seeing, of every year, of every show. So if in Voyager they make it clear that like 4 months have passed between the traumatic incident, and that's why everyone's better, because they've had 4 months, like that almost could have helped the show. He's pensive, he's thinking. There he is. Hello.
I am. I was thinking with my little stress cube.
Do you hear what I said?
Nope.
What did I say? Oh yeah. What if they actually said in the universe, you know, something happens, like Neelix's lungs go missing, and they say, you know, 3.5 months have passed, which explains why everyone's better, because they've like had trauma treatment. Like, would that have improved if they made it clear time had passed between episodes? Because it's only 24 days potentially in an entire year. Like, a year's passing, so maybe 4 months. What do you think?
Yeah, but like we said, some of the episodes are over the course of like a week.
Yeah, for sure.
Or 2 weeks. Or it's like all of a sudden you start calculating that shit, and it's like that's big chunks of your time gone.
Sure.
Where these things have been happening to you, and you've been having to deal with that for that amount of time. It's not going to be like a week later when the next adventure happens, you're going to be fine to deal with it. I don't know. I find that it's a little bit of a, I get what you're saying. It's only like a certain chunk of the year that we see, but it just, to That's what personal logs and stuff are for. Just mention it at least.
Now
Like, you can do that.
That's a perfect. You can't deny that point. Or like in someone's quarters, you see a pendulum that reflects this from a previous episode. You know, that sort of build, like you said with Picard having the thing on his, like that's perfect. Although you also assume that again, these people are highly trained, high skilled, highly professional, highly decorated, and they have mega advanced medical technology. I don't think the same PTSD is going to work now as then.
Except for Voyager specifically, they're not all Starfleet, nor did they meet up to Starfleet's requirements. So they washed out. They didn't want to go to the Academy. They were just Maquis.
That could have been brilliant, actually. That, although they're also battle hardened, you could also argue they're so mentally scarred they don't phase them. Like, you wouldn't expect Chakotay to ever have PTSD, anything he does. He is too battle hardened, and B'Elanna wouldn't give a shit. So those two, I think you could easily write off as, yeah, they're fine, except the extremes, which we did see occasionally. But I love that. That would have been great for, like, low-end Maquis. That would have been perfect. Like, see them deal with it, which I think we did a little bit, but like the tiniest. But like you say,
I just before you continue, for a second, I want to disagree with you there for 1 second. I think B'Elanna and Chakotay would be the most impacted by PTSD because they have to put on the strongest fronts. It's the characters that are kind of live free and fast, like Tom Paris, who'd be more like, it's fine. You know, it's the people that you'd never expect to have PTSD that have PTSD. Because the way they have to make that outward projection to the world, that they're tough. And we see that with B'Elanna all the time. She's like, I'm too tough. But then behind the scenes, she's falling apart.
That is an entire episode, literally, about that. I do get that. I just meant with Chakotay, he's a good chunk older than everyone else who's a Maquis. And he's been a leader for a long time. And he fought them for the entire Cardassian War. Like, he was right there. So he's seen hundreds of battles. Damn it, internet. So I just meant if Chakotay's been in 85 battles where he's lost 500 colleagues, seeing two dudes in Voyager die next to him isn't going to phase him because it's not anything new. That's what I didn't mean literally a PTSD that's so strong it'll get him, but most things he lives aren't important because he's lived more. Whereas I love that idea of young Maquis, that's great, but I would assume Starfleet training would kind of shield you against this stuff because of course it would. Now that's a hell of a conceit to say everyone's fine because of Starfleet training. But then again, it's like, you know, if you throw a military person in Iraq and some bomb goes off next to them, they might not flinch like an average person will because they're trained to deal with it. For everyone else, that's an absurdity. But for them, they're used to it. And also the extremes, always extremes. But most things they deal with, they can deal with because they are trained to deal with.
In the situation. But the problem is a lot of those people, let's say, using that as an example, come back here and the stress of being in the military is off, and all of a sudden a firecracker goes off, and then all of a sudden flashbacks. That's PTSD. They're like shell shocked.
Sure.
So,
but
in the heat of it, in your training, when you're wearing the uniform, when you're doing your thing, absolutely. But I think we should have seen more of the off-duty stuff with Voyager, maybe.
Well, that's the thing, though. Are you ever off-duty, really? Would you ever feel truly
off-duty?
They
wouldn't be. They wouldn't. Absolutely not.
So I like the idea of seeing.
There's that call. All hands to battle stations. I mean, I don't give a shit if you're just laid down. You're getting your uniform on.
And that crew's small. So. Everyone needs to get to like that is a small crew. Like they are useful. Yeah. But I certainly agree with that. But like I said, if they're always on duty, if they're always whatever, I like the idea that once they've retired or if they go on holiday, then it all kind of comes crashing down. But I can imagine if you're in, like, how many people leave Starfleet? Most people in Starfleet seem to be a career officer. And so once you've been doing it for 60 years, even if you left, it's not like a Afghanistan guy stand for 12 years, comes out, PTSD. It's like you've been in there for 70 years with all this medical treatment. At that point, I think you're probably past that stage, you know? It's like it's so much.
Yeah, you're probably dead at that point if you've been serving for 70 years.
Well. But so
I know what you mean.
So it's an extreme. Basically, it's a very intricate situation they've created in Star Trek with these officers, what they can and can't do. Now, I fundamentally agree with you. They should have had more repercussions. You know, I do. I'm just saying, if you need to make it link with how they use the show, you probably can. There's never the intention, obviously, and I certainly wish they'd more. Like even to a couple of times I've had Harry mention I'm not the real Harry or I'm not your Harry. Perfect, you know. But then again, do you really want to use burn up time of just those sorts of stories because they are limited by their very nature?
Good point. Gareth Rooney, €5.
Thank you.
Please, no more Nazi storylines. Hey, I like the Nazi storylines. Nazis are the perfect villain. You can just drop them into anything, and you know they're the bad guy. Same with zombies. Zombies and Nazis, they're kind of interchangeable.
And let's be fair, that Herodian guy looked great in Nazi makeup, as weird as that is. And those two I find are like very dumb, very weird, but because they're so unique, they work. I wouldn't choose to watch them necessarily, but they're exactly what you think they are, and that's the point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so specific.
Yep. I'm gonna call it right now. Somewhere during the course of Strange New Worlds, there's gonna be a Nazi episode. Right now, I'm calling that.
Or a Rome episode in a Coliseum somewhere. Brennan Circuses.
Yes.
Nuts. Stuart.
Yeah.
Stuart. Nazi gladiators.
Well, yeah. Sure. Perfect. Not a band account, $5. TNG season 1 and 2. The crew had nicely formal and professional. Later, it's so relaxed. Riker whined to Jellicoe over just shift changes. It became the Love Boat. That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
They were new crew.
Yep.
They didn't know each other, so of course they're going to rely on their training and be very formal at first.
Yep.
And then you serve with somebody every day, and yeah, you get that familiarity, whether that's the word, and you loosen up a bit.
Well, it's not just that, but and this is the same with every film set. Everyone in the cast and call sheet takes their cue from the number one on the call sheet. When Patrick Stewart was more stiff, everyone else.
He was for the first two seasons. Yeah.
Everyone else was too. But that fits in beautifully because the character was too. Remember, you're being assigned the second in command of the flagship, the brand new flagship with a brand new captain. Big deal. That's a big deal. There hasn't been a bigger deal since the Enterprise C, and that was 30 years ago. That's the biggest assignment you could possibly get. But after 700 days, with most of it a warp, of course you're not going to care as much. Like, you know everybody. Especially, Riker of all people knows everybody. That's the whole point.
He has to know everybody.
Has to know everybody, because he has to do the bloody duty shift assignment. That sucks. Like, his job is crap. It's a great crap. In the grand scheme, he's not doing science. He's not doing exploration. He's not doing any engineering. He's doing people.
Yeah. He's doing people. It's Riker. The Riker maneuver.
Oh.
Devo 77X Nazi Gladiator sounds like the title of a B flick. Yeah, it does. Sounds like something that Red Letter Media would review.
Nazi gladiators in space.
Nazi gladiators on the moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
SWTX Chaser $2.
Hey.
Do you want to see Makos? Strange New Worlds? No, I never liked the idea of Mako.
Yes, I would.
I knew you would. Go or Devo. So.
There we go. Yeah, no, it would, because they serve their own place. You know, having it's like the Elite Force in Star Trek Elite Force. What are they called?
The Hazard Team.
Yeah, like it's odd, but I mean, there's going to be variations of everybody in the Starfleet. So having a special ops is better than having Section 31 as a simple concept. Just having slightly
That's the
more
problem. Section 31 is going to be in Strange New Worlds. They're going to bring Giorgio back, at least for an episode, to tie into the new Section 31 show that they're going to do in like a year, whenever they do it. But
guys,
yeah,
I think we are $18 away from a good number and 8 likes. 18 and 8. So if you can help us out, please do. It's a nice, gentle live stream. It's been a good debate. We certainly meandered, but that shows it's been a pretty fruitful topic. So do you have any sort of summarization? Have you changed your mind? Have you whatevered? What do you think? Is episodic or serialized? What are we thinking?
I like the mix of both, and I like I said, I think Enterprise probably did it best.
Some of Enterprise.
Some of Enterprise. Yeah, let's clarify. So yeah, I think I really want that return to the episodic feel, though. It would behoove them to have a show where people can just tune in and say, okay, I haven't seen anything. What's on? But that's not how streaming services work. So they don't need to do that. But I don't know. I just think TOS is a good formula because you don't need to see what happened the week before to understand what's happening. I don't know. I'm just kind of. I still think episodic is the way to go. I didn't talk myself out of it, so that's for sure.
As long as they're good episodes.
Wow.
That's always the double disclaimer.
That goes without saying.
Yeah. But that's the interesting about episodic versus serialized. You can have a better 4-parter of 4 less good episodes if the payoff makes it all better, you know? Because you get to build.
That's the problem too. If your serialized arc is shit, all those episodes are going to be shit. There might be a little bit of gold in there, but with the episodic, if one's shit, then who cares? Like you said with Descent, who cares? The rest of the season's good, right? Mostly. Mm-hmm. So,
and in fact, we talked about Discovery Season 2 a few times. Discovery Season 3, the end didn't change the quality of the rest of the season because the burn had already happened. It was a mystery. The mystery doesn't change the rest of the season. Each episode was, we're going to Earth, we're going to Vulcan, we're going to Enterprise. Like, they were actually very episodic. It was a mystery arc, which is not the same as a big overall, you know, it's different. So that actually didn't affect the overall quality because each one was a strong single, or at least most of them were. That was a far better balance. You got both. Okay, the ending wasn't the best ending, and certainly was not the best by any means, but episodes 3 to 7, solid, you know. Whereas Discovery Season 2, you say the first 4, and then everything else. and the Cage episode, but yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Eric Martin, $20. Wow, thank you so much. With a snipe. That's an expensive snipe around. That's like,
is that a sniper?
Gold cased.
Ooh.
Gold case with your name inscribed on it. Like literally a bullet with your name on it.
And
that's good.
You've seen Wanted, haven't you? The Ben Bullet film.
We've talked about this. I saw some of it. I haven't seen the whole movie.
Do you remember the start? Have you seen the start? You tend to watch like the start of a film if you don't like seeing a bit of it.
No, I've only seen I saw it on TV a couple middle part.
Well, part of why they're such good assassins is because they build multi-stage bullets. They have like sub ignitions, and so like
that's where they can bend them.
Well, no, because they can change the trajectory, but they can also keep it straight. And so you can make a 10-mile sniper shot because you can stop it from curving, right? You can keep it straight.
Yeah.
But then you need to have multiple bullets inside a bullet to then make sure it has more powder to keep igniting. And so there's a scene where they shoot a bullet and it's like this long, and then it jettisons part like a rocket. It's basically just a rocket. They're just keeping with the magic.
Damn.
But they're normally quite ceremonial, like engraved, because it's a fancy. You don't often do that. And so I was just thinking, as soon as he said, you were saying a fancy bullet, like a sniper, the really ornate gold, and then you only see it in slow mo, and then it's obviously used. But that's a very long thing to say a gold bullet, like a gold ornate bullet. But hey, I like that. It's a good movie. It's got some crap in it, but it's a good movie.
I need to watch it for sure.
Yeah.
Marked Ashamed, which I still love that name. Thank you so much. $5. Movies this day and age would be better episodic. One might say movies and TV traded places. MCU is the standard for episodic storytelling. That's interesting.
Yeah. Damn. And briefly, as we hope to get, let's go for another $4. Let's go. Well, we want more likes, so $4 more. But the Mandalorian, I think, is the other example.
One more like at least.
Yeah, one more.
Sorry.
I think Mandalorian is the other example where he does better as an episodic, but the serialized kind of failed because they tease you with a massive serialized at the start, and it barely does anything with it for a year, and then barely does anything with it for a second year. So it's like not engaging as a serialized, really, but as an episodic it is. Because it couldn't commit. It was like, we want to do episodic, but we also want to introduce the biggest thing ever. So it kind of fails in one, because it can't commit.
Mm-hmm.
But we like the episodic. But you're waiting for that big Baby Yoda continuation, or the big this, and this, you know? So that was a failed, in my opinion, balance.
Interesting.
The other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So you care about Baby Yoda, but it doesn't mean anything in like 9 of the 20 episodes. It means nothing. It's like, well, that's not good, is it? If that's the big thing. Like if it was Baby, Kai Mundi. What? Oh,
Baby Jabba.
Yeah. Which there was, obviously, as you know. Or Baby Jar Jar, like a young Tusken Raider. It's like, oh yeah. But one of the biggest creatures of all sci-fi, of all sci-fi, I mean, arguably.
Sergeant Montgomery, $5. An episodic snipe. Live long and prosper.
Yeah, but that first and third snipe one is good. I could see the twist coming. But that last one was a good payoff. That was an episodic joke, obviously. But I'm just saying.
And how do you end off a sentence that says snipe with live long and prosper? You're sniping. You don't want whatever is in the end of that to live long or prosper. Just saying.
Unless it's like an orgasm gun.
But wow, that's next super chat. SWTX Chaser, $5. Snipe with the TR-114 transporter rifle. It's 116.
So
the 114 is like the earlier prototype, I guess, the TOS version.
I like that rifle, and that we did. It's a horrible rifle to hold. Like, it wasn't balanced at all, but it wasn't meant to be. That's a great.
It didn't have the stock on it either. It didn't have the stock. The stock was separate from it. That's why it wasn't good to hold. Yeah.
Oh, no. You're right. It wasn't. Yeah. Now that episode standalone, excellent. Great concept.
Yep.
Great concept. And hey, spoilers. It being a Vulcan as the baddie, wonderful ballsy, lovely ballsy choice.
Spoilers. Sergeant Montgomery, $2. Continued snipe.
Ooh.
Thank you. Marked ashamed, $2. Baby Jar Jar, throw him off a waterfall.
Oh, miss, I like the water.
Eric Martin says, careful, Cap likes Jar Jar. I don't like Jar Jar. I don't dislike Jar Jar. I tolerate Jar Jar. I think he's entertaining. I don't like him. He's not a favorite character. I just don't hate him as much as everybody else does. I see his purpose and his, I get the. I'll just shut up now. I just don't hate him like everybody else does.
So what I'm hearing is that Jar Jar is your favorite character.
Yes, exactly.
That's what
You'll hear that on Doomcock's next podcast.
Captain Foley of Trekyards.
Captain Foley loves Jar Jar.
Oh gosh.
And one of you is the inside source, probably, given the information. Oh, my goodness. I wanted to say Cliff, but YouTube wouldn't let me type it in the super chat.
Oh.
Can't write Cliff in a super chat?
Throw him off a cliff. Ooh, interesting.
Does it go with phrasing? Oh, my God.
That's...
Can't believe what's not allowed for that kind of stuff.
Because jokes can be funny.
That's why they're jokes.
And jokes can help people through trauma.
Yeah. I bet you can't type suicide in a super chat. I bet you that one.
But maybe Suicide Squad is a great film. Because then it might know.
Exactly.
Because you assume there'll be film podcasts. Guys, please tell on super chat Suicide Squad is a great film. Unless they don't think Suicide Squad 1 is a good film, but we think Suicide Squad 2 will be a good film. Probably more true.
I'm interested because I know there's certain swear words you definitely can't put in, and you have to come up with something else to sound the same or whatever. But
not to make you give us money, but for 99 cents, put in Suicide Squad.
You can't for $1. You can't type anything for $1. Unfortunately,
well,
$2 you can. So Squadra Course, $2 here. Is Samuel's new film project episodic? Snipe.
It actually is. Although I'm very gently serializing, hinting things, but that's really because I can subtle. I shouldn't revolve around everything else, But it's learning to grow. It's learning to grow and like characters, isn't it? It's the TOS approach. You like them by seeing them in stories, not so much multiple episodes following.
Alyssa Jericho says he can't tell Doomcock that because he's too busy telling Doomcock that everything is cancelled. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Jar Jar, first officer of the SS Trekyards. Must I press a quantum button?
Okay. That wouldn't last long. That would get annoying for me real quick. Just gotta say.
Mori, multi-vector songbird. Oh!
I'm just picturing the worst bridge crew ever now. Jar Jar, a Thermian. Who else could we get on there? Badgie.
Yes,
Yeah.
Badgie's gone. Oh, and the Gorn's alive guy, Brian Blessed in Flash. You want me to fire torpedoes? Torpedoes!
I want the Thermian to be Helm. Onward.
Quarter impulse engaged.
Oh, that's a whole other live right there. Good God.
And that'd be
We have fun here, guys. We love you guys. It's a great community.
And that'd be a good.
It's cheered me up,
animated-
and I've had a bad day, so thank you.
I told you, or at least I hinted. Good. And that'd be good, like animated movie, like the USS Trekyards with these terrible people you don't want to watch in a show, all voiced, how they would do. That'd be great.
Sergeant Montgomery, $2. A snipe of logic and prosperity.
Nice.
Well, it looks like Sergeant Montgomery wants that last super chat slot.
He
So,
does. Nice.
and we hit 145 likes. That's awesome.
That is
6 likes. Sorry.
cool beans, Stuart. Good chat indeed. And if everyone could wish me luck, I'm doing a screen read for my actors tomorrow.
Good luck.
Thank you. I hope it goes.
Something everybody.
Yes. I mean, I think you have at least 97 people's worth of personality in you. So.
If anybody's interested and cares, the review of this is coming out on the Captain Foley channel tomorrow, or at least the unboxing of it. And on Friday, there's a little special thing. Jeff Jacobs sent me a really cool little Star Trek ship from Japan. So I unboxed that, and that's on Friday. So if you guys are interested, check those out.
I feel teased. I do feel teased. And I've been wondering about the ship as well, because that's been in the background. It's one of those like milestones of, you can tell when we film this because that's in the background for a certain amount of episodes.
And I'm so proud of it. It's such a great ship. Preston M, $10 with no comment, but thank you. That is a great way to end.
That's a very good
There
way.
you go. That is a fantastic. That's still a really nice bullet. Not as nice as the $20 one, but that's still a really nice bullet. So thank you guys so much.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Cool. Awesome, guys. We will see you probably tomorrow. And I'm going to do something I have to do right now. So back to editing.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Bye, everybody. He's Commander Cocky.
He's got a phone.
I am. He is.
I am.
We are. Team Trekyards.